You're going to die tonight, not your body, not in the way you're imagining, but the person you are right now, your exact mind, your exact feelings, your exact way of seeing the world, won't survive until morning. Every single night for about a third of your life, you stop existing, you climb into bed, you close your eyes, and the version of you that you've been all day quietly disappears. Hours later, someone wakes up in your bed, they have your memories, they have your body, they look like you, but neurologically, they're not in the exact same state. This is the story of where you actually go when you sleep, and what science has discovered will permanently change how you think about going to bed. Let's start with something most people never stop to think about. You spend roughly 26 years of your life unconscious. That's a quarter century. Gone. Erased from your awareness. If you live to be 78, you'll have spent more time asleep than working, more time asleep than parenting, more time asleep than every conversation you've ever had combined. And from an evolutionary standpoint, this is insane. Think about what sleep actually is. Your muscles shut down, your heart rate drops. You become deaf, blind, and completely defenseless for hours at a time. In the wild, this is suicide. A deer that sleeps too deeply gets eaten. A monkey that loses awareness too long falls out of the tree. So why did evolution build a creature that spends a third of its life completely vulnerable? The standard answer you've heard your whole life is that your body gets tired. Your brain needs rest. Sleep is just biology recharging itself. That answer is wrong. Not partially wrong. Not incomplete. It's just wrong. Because if sleep were really about energy and rest, evolution would have engineered something safer thousands of generations ago. A short nap. A microsleep. Anything but 8 straight hours of complete unconsciousness every 24 hours. The real reason you sleep is far stranger than rest, and it has very little to do with your body. In 1953, 2 researchers at the University of Chicago accidentally cracked open the first piece of this mystery. Nathaniel Kleitman and a graduate student named Eugene Aserinsky were studying sleeping infants, routine work, watching babies sleep. Then they noticed something that didn't make sense. The babies were deeply asleep, eyes closed, breathing slowly, completely unconscious. But underneath their eyelids, their eyes were moving, fast, darting back and forth like they were watching something invisible. Aserinsky thought the equipment was broken. He recalibrated it. He tested it on his own son. The eye movements were still there. He brought the data to Kleitman. They tested adults. Same thing. Several times per night, in every healthy human being, the eyes would suddenly start moving in rapid bursts while the person was completely asleep. When the researchers hooked up brain monitors, they got even more confused. The babies' brains weren't quiet. They weren't resting. They were firing at almost the same intensity as a fully awake brain. That moment was the birth of REM sleep research. Rapid eye movement sleep, the phase where the most vivid dreams occur. And what they found next is what made everything weirder. During REM sleep, your body is paralyzed, not metaphorically, literally. Your brain deliberately disconnects your motor neurons from your muscles so you can't physically act out what you're dreaming. Your heart rate becomes irregular. Your breathing becomes uneven. And your brain, the supposedly resting brain, is burning energy at almost the same rate it does while you're awake, which immediately created a problem science couldn't ignore. If sleep is for rest, why is the sleeping brain working harder than it does during the day? Something else was happening in there, something nobody had a name for yet. That something became the work of a neuroscientist named Giulio Tononi in the 1980s. And the theory he developed sounds, honestly, a little disturbing the first time you hear it. What if sleep isn't mainly for resting your brain? What if it's for erasing parts of it? Here's what Tononi meant. Every second you're awake, your brain is doing something it can't stop doing. It's building connections. Every face you see, every word you hear, every notification you glance at, every conversation you have, every advertisement you scroll past, your brain is forming tiny neural pathways. Strengthening some, creating new ones, layering memory on top of memory. This is great. It's how you learn. It's how you become you. But it has a problem. If that process continued nonstop forever, your brain would fill up. Not with useful memories, with noise, background chatter, useless connections. The neural equivalent of a hard drive crammed with junk files. So according to Tononi's synaptic homeostasis hypothesis, and this is now considered one of the leading theories of sleep, your brain solves this problem at night. While you sleep, it goes through every connection it formed during the day and asks a brutal question. Does this deserve to exist? Important connections, your loved one's faces, things you genuinely learned, emotional moments that matter, get reinforced. Everything else gets weakened. faded, trimmed away. Your brain is literally deciding, every night, what parts of your day are worth keeping, and what parts of you are worth deleting. Think about that for a second. The conversation you had at lunch today, the argument that's still bothering you, the song stuck in your head, the face of the stranger you passed on the street, all of it is currently held in your neural network as fresh connections. By tomorrow morning, some of those connections will be stronger, most of them will be gone, and your brain, not you, will have made every one of those decisions while you were unconscious. By the time you wake up, you've been edited. The experiment started backing this up almost immediately. In 2003, a team at the University of Wisconsin showed that animals deprived of sleep couldn't consolidate memories properly. The information went in fine, but the organizing process, the trimming and strengthening, failed. The memories were there, but they were unstable, disorganized, fragile. Then came the brain scans, and what scientists found inside the sleeping brain was something nobody had expected. During deep sleep, your brain doesn't just edit itself, it cleans itself. Using advanced imaging, researchers discovered that during the deepest stages of sleep, cerebrospinal fluid, the clear liquid that surrounds your brain, begins flowing through your brain tissue in rhythmic waves. It washes through, carrying away the metabolic waste products that build up during the day, including, critically, certain proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. Your sleeping brain isn't shutting down for the night. It's running maintenance. It's rinsing itself out. It's editing memory. It's deciding what stays and what disappears. And here's where this gets uncomfortable. The brain activity happening while you're unconscious may shape your personality more than the 8 to 16 hours you spend awake. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that emotional experiences don't just replay during sleep. They get reprocessed. Embarrassment from yesterday, fear from a conversation, grief over something you've lost, attraction to someone, humiliation from years ago that surfaced again. Your brain takes all of this and runs it through processing while you're unconscious. Not passively, actively. It changes how you feel about your own life. The version of you that wakes up tomorrow is not psychologically identical to the version that fell asleep tonight. Your brain has already modified the emotional weight of your memories. Some things that felt heavy when you went to bed will feel lighter in the morning. Some things that felt fine will suddenly feel different, which means something genuinely strange is true about every single person watching this. You are being psychologically rewritten every single night, without your permission, without your awareness. Quietly, in the dark. Now, this would already be enough to keep most people up at night. But there's another layer to this story that almost nobody talks about, and it changes everything about how we think about sleep. For most of human history, people didn't sleep the way you sleep now. In the early 2000s, a historian named Roger Ekirch at Virginia Tech was researching life in pre-industrial Europe. While going through medieval court records, medical texts, personal diaries, and old literature, he started noticing the same phrase appearing over and over again, phrases like first sleep and second sleep. He thought it was just old language, a figure of speech. Then he found another reference, and another, and another. By the time he was done, he'd documented over 500 historical mentions of something he called segmented sleep. For centuries in Europe, in Africa, and parts of Asia, humans normally slept in 2 separate phases each night. People would go to bed shortly after sunset. They'd sleep for about 3 or 4 hours. Then, around midnight or just after, they'd naturally wake up and stay awake for 1 or 2 hours. They didn't panic. They didn't think anything was wrong. They considered it normal. Their grandparents had done it. Their great-grandparents had done it. Every generation going back as far as memory existed had done it. The middle of the night wasn't a problem to solve. It was just a part of the night. What did they do during that middle waking period? Almost everything. They prayed. They wrote letters by candlelight. They reflected on the dreams they'd just had. They visited neighbors. They had sex. Multiple historical sources note that medieval physicians actually recommended this period as the best time to conceive a child, because the body had rested first. They read. They thought. Some used the time for quiet conversation with a spouse. Some used it to plan the next day. Then, eventually, they'd lie back down for their second sleep until dawn. 2 sleeps. Every night. For most of human history. Documented across multiple continents, across multiple centuries, in court records and medical journals and personal diaries, which means something most modern people would never guess. If you've ever woken up at 2 or 3 in the morning and panicked because you couldn't fall back asleep, your body might not be malfunctioning, It might be doing something ancient, something it remembers from before clocks existed. So if you wake up in the middle of the night, the first mistake may be panic. Your body isn't necessarily failing. It might simply be following an older rhythm, one that worked just fine for hundreds of generations before electric light existed. So what happened? Why don't we sleep that way anymore? The same thing that happened to almost every other natural human rhythm. The Industrial Revolution. Before factories, sleep was governed by sunlight. You slept when it got dark. You woke when it got light. The middle waking period fit naturally into a long winter night with 12 hours of darkness. Then came artificial lighting. Then came factory schedules. Then came the 8-hour shift. Suddenly society didn't have time for 2 sleeps. You needed to fall asleep fast, sleep efficiently for a fixed number of hours, and be at the factory gate by morning. So the second sleep got engineered out of human life, erased in about 2 generations. By the early 1900s, most people in industrialized countries didn't even remember it had ever existed. Your body didn't evolve around clocks. Clocks forced your body to adapt. And the consequences of that adaptation are showing up everywhere. In 2022, the CDC estimated that over a third of American adults are chronically sleep-deprived. Rates of anxiety, depression, obesity, and cardiovascular disease all rise sharply when sleep patterns get disrupted. Your nervous system is ancient, your environment isn't, and every single night, those 2 realities collide inside your skull. But all of this, the editing, the reprocessing, the segmented sleep, the brain cleaning itself, points towards something even stranger when you really sit with it. And before we go there, one quick thing worth being clear about. This doesn't mean a new person literally appears in your bed every morning. Your body continues, your memories continue, your identity continues. But the exact neural and emotional state that produced yesterday's version of you has been changed in measurable ways. That's the part science can actually back up. The implications of that's where things get strange. Consciousness is the thing you experience as being you. It's the voice in your head. The sense of I exist, I'm here, I'm aware. It's what makes you feel like a continuous person moving through time. Sleep disrupts that. Every single night, your awareness disappears. Your sense of time vanishes. When you sleep, you can't feel hours pass. You wake up and they're just gone. Your sense of identity dissolves into dreams, fragments, electrical patterns firing across roughly 86 billion neurons. Then, hours later, consciousness comes back, and you simply assume, without thinking about it, that the person who just woke up is the same person who went to sleep. But how would you actually prove that? Think about it for a second. The version of you that existed yesterday, that exact emotional state, those exact thoughts, those exact neural connections, isn't fully here anymore. Your emotions have shifted overnight. Your memories have been edited. Connections have been pruned. The neural state of your brain right now is measurably different from what it was 8 hours ago. Your brain survived the night. Your body survived the night, but the exact mental state you had before sleep didn't survive unchanged. Something slightly different woke up in its place. And it's been happening every night of your life. About 25,000 times so far if you're 40 years old. This is what scientists and philosophers are now starting to take seriously as the consciousness continuity problem. The you who reads this sentence is not, in any strict sense, the same you who'll finish watching this video. Even within the same conscious session, you're constantly changing. Your brain is constantly forming new connections, weakening old ones, shifting your emotional state in real time. But sleep accelerates that change dramatically. It's the longest unbroken stretch of mental editing your brain ever does. Some philosophers have started using the word self-discontinuity to describe what happens to a person across a night of sleep. The brain that produces your conscious experience tonight will not be the same brain that produces your conscious experience tomorrow morning. The hardware survives. The exact configuration doesn't. It's a bit like a river. You can call it the same river every day, but the water passing through it isn't the same. The shape of the riverbed has shifted slightly overnight. New currents have formed. Old ones have dried up. From a distance, it looks identical. Up close, nothing about it is. So maybe that's the real reason humans sleep. Not because the body gets tired. Not because the brain needs to recharge. Not because energy runs low. But because you, the conscious, continuous person you think you are, need to be rebuilt every night. Edited. Cleaned. Reprocessed. Reorganized into a slightly different version of yourself that can survive another day. Your brain will spend the next 8 hours quietly deciding what stays, what gets reinforced, what gets weakened, What gets washed away? Memories from today will be ranked, processed, and either preserved or trimmed. Emotional weights will shift. Connections you didn't even know existed will be either solidified or erased forever. By morning, a slightly different version of you will step back into your life, carrying only the pieces your brain decided were worth keeping. And maybe, just maybe, this is why almost every human culture, across every continent, throughout all of recorded history, has treated sleep as something close to sacred. Some called it the little death. Some believed the soul left the body. Some thought dreams were visits from another world. Different stories, different metaphors. But underneath them all, the same intuition. Something happens when you sleep that doesn't happen anywhere else in life. You disappear, and someone slightly different comes back. That's where you go when you sleep. Not to a place, not to a state. You go to the editing room of your own brain. And what comes out is close to you. But never exactly you, not dead, not replaced. But changed enough that the exact version of you who closed their eyes tonight is gone by morning. If videos like this, the kind that genuinely change how you think about something ordinary, are what you came here for, there's one more you should watch next. It's about why humans evolved to eat 3 meals a day, and how the answer has almost nothing to do with biology. Same kind of story. A daily habit you never questioned, hiding a history nobody told you. It's linked on screen. And if you want more stories like this every week, subscribe. That's what this channel is built for. Tonight, when you close your eyes, you know something most people don't. You won't be there when you open them.